bet it's a bullet gonna get the last laugh.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're going to talk about this Q&A that Harada and Michael Murray both participated in. It was a massive event that took place in San Antonio, Texas. A lot of people were there and a lot of questions were asked. If any of the other questions that was recorded is posted to the internet, I will definitely make follow-up videos and talk about them. But here you can see it says Harada joined Namco, now Bandai Namco. You know, Bandai was one company and Namco was one company, and they joined to form Bandai Namco Entertainment. And initially worked as a promoter before transitioning into game developer. He played a pivotal role in the Tekken series, starting with the first install and eventually became its director and chief producer over the past 30 years. Harada is also known for his voice acting contributions to Tekken characters including Marshall, Law, and Yoshimitsu. This doesn't even scratch the surface of how much he's done to bring these characters to life. Harada has truly crafted Tekken to be a legendary franchise. It says beyond Tekken, Harada's been involved in other projects such as Soul Calibur franchise. The Q&A was really interesting. We'll talk about it in a second, but it wasn't the only thing that was happening. You also had this tournament here where you got to face Harada. As a side note, can I say that I would like this character to be a guest character in Tekken 8? Maybe you guys all hate that and you know you don't want sword characters, but talking about Lucky Chloe, Harada considers Lucky Chloe a failure because her personality was horrible. Now these are their words. I'm not saying it. This is literally their words.
Yeah,
that character, you know, he views it as a failure on his part because the original concept was, you know, this very cute girl, but she's got like a horrible personality.
The original concept was supposed to be a cute girl. The quote that I wanted to highlight, because a lot of people want to know if she'll return or not, they said, if we were to bring her back, we would like to make her closer to the original concept.
And it didn't come across as much that way as he'd hoped in the game. So if we were to bring her back, he'd like to try to make it more close to that original concept, probably.
Katarina and Shahid were designed for beginners. We know Tekken 8 is really locked in on that concept. But Lucky Chloe was a character who was designed to be difficult. They wanted to make her like a rhythm-based character, but that idea was so complex and so difficult to where they scrapped it. And then the idea that she eventually turned into was that she is the most beginner friendly character. You can see these pictures like this one where Harada was very passionate about showing off the character, telling us about the character, and just introducing a new face in the Tekken. There was a lot of people who liked her. When you go back to the Tekken 7 days, she was definitely one of the most cosplayed characters. Like if you just type up Lucky Chloe cosplay, you will find an endless amount of pictures just like these ones here. But when you talk about how real like hardcore Tekken players perceived the character, it was not good. You see one of the earliest tweets here from July 12th 2016 where someone says, please remove Lucky Chloe from the game, and then Harada says, I'll replace you. Someone else says, please delete Lucky Chloe. A little bit later, after Tekken 7 is kind of ending its lifespan, Harada once again responds to the Lucky Chloe backlash and says she was very unpopular from North America 5 years ago when she was announced. However, the usage rate of Chloe in North America from the past 3 years is higher than in other countries. This character is completely divided into likes and dislikes. For those of you who don't know, North America makes up about half of the player base. The EU region is the biggest, but North America is immediately after that. And if that region likes Lucky Chloe, but also she is divided amongst hates and dislikes, she's controversial. And in a game where we have so many beloved characters, icons like Miguel, Julia, to put a controversial character in the game is not what the game needs now. I know a lot of people want the villain archetype, Akuma, they want the controversy because that, like, you know, also drives engagement, but that is something you do at the end of the game lifespan when you talk about bringing back a Kunimitsu or something like that. You don't want to do that season 2, season 3. You want to get the fan favorite, beloved characters out there as fast as possible. But also, there's a lot of people who've seen this from them and they're already saying, oh, well, this is basically confirming her for season 3 because, you know, they did the Heihachi is dead and then Heihachi is here. You know, they did the Fakaram Marduk's leaks were fake. But now, you know, we have Fakaram in the game and Marduk seems to be coming next. I think, yes, you could point to these examples where the developers were trying to mislead us, but I personally don't think that's what they're doing here. If season 3 was Marduk, Lucky Chloe, and then let's say Bob, because there's the evidence that he will show up, that will be a crazy season pass. But you do got to keep in mind, a year ago, Harada tried to do polls on Twitter to see how the players like certain characters. And even though those polls was flooded with bots and the results was ruined, the fact that he did put Lucky Chloe's name there means that he cares somewhat about the character and was trying to see how they feel, you know? So shout out to this guy for posting this clip, because I think the people who like Lucky Chloe, this can give them the closure that they need. But moving on and talking about what else was talked about here, because there was crazy things happening. So first we got to give a shout out to Joe Crush. This guy was there at the event, live in person, camera in hand, recording. Shout out to him. Thanks for bringing us this footage.
Oh, I think Mike Tyson we brought up at one point too, right? Yeah. But he has a criminal record, so our company said no. We did a panel with him though one year in San Diego.
The video that he posts, it has the headline that says, when asked about guest characters Harada and Murray would like to see in Tekken 8, they revealed they've been kicking around ideas. First idea is Deadpool. I gotta play the clip so we can hear it from their mouths themselves, because saying Deadpool is a wild idea.
Rose and Deadpool, he really wanted to bring Deadpool to Tekken, but it proved quite difficult because of the timing on both sides, or also if we were to do Deadpool, they also would want several other characters. It couldn't just be like a one-off type of thing.
I know everyone says they don't like characters who shoot and swing swords, but me personally, I think it's because, one, they haven't done the right characters and they haven't been balanced properly. Even Master Raven had a sword in that game and it was done so well. Negan had a bat and he was the strongest weapon user in that game. But generally, all weapon users prior to Tekken 8 were great. Tekken 8 is a game that really ruined what it meant to have a weapon, and it sucks that that is the case, because I think there's a lot of great guest characters, there's a lot of great ideas, there's a lot of great things that could be done and explored, but it seems like the players don't really want that anymore, and I completely understand. But Deadpool, an incredible character. The fact that they're even talking about Marvel is excellent, because I think even though Marvel's Marvel, they still have a lot of staying power if you talk about Marvel Rivals and just some of the other things that they're doing. It would be a great character. But then they also say Donald Trump.
トランプ大統領出そうとしたら、もう世界中の社員から。
We brought up Trump in the discussion once about it. We thought that would be entertaining. Some people might want to beat up people with him. Some people might want to beat him up, right? It's win-win for everyone. But people in corporate on basically all branches of our company told us not to do that. So.
ちょっと聞きたいんだけど、ここのスタッフがさ。
He said, if you were on the Tekken team and he said, let's do Trump, would you stop him or no?
No. Oh,
You're hired, right?
For some reason, Harada occasionally talks about Donald Trump being a guest character. There was this one tweet that he made a long time ago where he was talking about how he was in a taxi cab, and I believe he asked the driver, what do they think about, Donald Trump being in a game or something like that. I'll put the tweet on screen. You guys can pause and read because I can't really remember it off memory. And then also the final thing that's listed here on this tweet is John Wick. John Wick, incredible film franchise. I do think the last like 2 or 3 were a little bit watered down. The first one and the second one were incredible. I know during the heights of the first one and the second one, Tekken players were really asking for that character to show up. But once again, you got to talk about weapon users. Also, keep in mind that John Wick uses he uses many martial arts, but he mostly represents QCQ, and that is also the fighting style that Victor uses.
I wanted to do John Wick for some time,
John Wick.
Tekken's got like a unique feel to it. It's not very Hollywood, right? Like, I mean, Marvel would make sense, but I always thought someone like John Wick was kind of that, if you know what it is, I mean, everyone knows John Wick now, but I think it's just the same type of vibe that would go well in Tekken.
The fact that that's Victor's on paper fighting style, but then when you look at his gameplay, he's just teleporting and zipping around. I don't know how John Wick would turn out. They would definitely need to give him weapons, but like, how do you incorporate that into fighting? Will he be another Victor just without the teleporting? He probably would be like a grappler who can shoot you long range. A combination between Dragunov and Victor is what I think a John Wick type character would be in this game. And I mean, that sounds pretty crazy, but I also think, these out there ideas ideas. It's really cool. And this is what we need in the game. You know, I don't think they should play it safe. I think they should go all out with an idea and go for something massive. And for all the people who look at these 3 names and say all of these would be broken, you have to keep this in mind. No matter what the guest character is, it will be broken. Tekken has had 5 guest characters so far, and all of them were wild. Negan is the most balanced out of all of them, but he is ultra tournament viable. So this concept that, you know, don't do this guest character because it's going to be broken, I think we should just throw that out the window, because every guest character that touches this game is going to be broken. We're kind of already in this position where the normal DLC characters are broken. So at that point, you might as well just try to get the best character, the biggest name, whatever is possible. All of these characters that they named in this Q&A, I think would probably not show up in Tekken 8, because when you do a guest character, when you do a reveal, you want it to be a surprise. And I know the developers, they kind of hint at things like prior, you know, you could go back and look at some tweets and was like, wow, it's there all along. But I think when they're talking so directly to the players and they're explaining, you know, what the corporate said and how these things didn't fall through, I think that is kind of them just saying like, yeah, we tried some of these ideas, it didn't work. But also it gives me hope for what they'll do next. This is the kind of stuff Tekken should be reaching for